Hey, Cordell.
Yeah?
There's a package here. There's a package here at the door.
Oh, okay, let me go look. This says it's for Sammy.
Yeah. Do you think she'd be okay if we opened it? If she's not, I mean, I know she's not here. She had to go do stuff, but
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of one legal reason not to open a person's mail.
I can't either.
So yeah, let me open this thing. There's a note in the package, Caleb.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, read it. I can't read.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay, but I've been reading a lot more lately. So this is basically another book I can put on Goodreads, you know.
Yes, yep.
Let's see. Dear Caleb and Cordell, I'm starting to think Caleb is the problem with opening other people's mail. I don't know what that's referencing, Cordell. Don't worry about that. It looks like you. It looks like you two will have to record an episode alone without Samantha, or else she'll die. I've taken her, by the way. P.S. Hugs and kisses.
Caleb, when I got kidnapped last week,
Man napped
last week, were you involved with that?
I wasn't involved with it. I didn't I didn't nap you.
My man napper came in while I was like hooded and said in like a voice modulator, "Hey, just so you know, I would have let you go today, but Caleb and Sammy opened up a package labeled for you. So now you got to stay while they do an episode or else I'll kill you."
I plead the fifth. Also, why were you already hooded when the person came in to get you?
No. The person kidnapped me and left me hooded. I was coincidentally hooded when they kidnapped me, but this was later.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I guess it's just us this week. So, welcome to Junk House.
It's a psychobilly freak out.
Caleb, do you realize what just happened?
No.
It happened, Caleb.
What happened?
Season 2 of Junk House.
Oh my gosh.
Has finally, after 29 episodes, on the 30th episode of our quote-unquote second season, we have a character.
Yeah, it's also like we have a character, and so far, it's just a great way whenever one of us can't be here.
Right.
But I do want to say, Cordell, can you take off the hood? It is just like a navy blue pillowcase over your head.
Caleb, at this point, it's a comfort thing. I feel better with this hood on.
Can you at least take off the piece of paper off the front of it that says "punch me, please"? Like, that's just, it's a little too far. I don't know.
Caleb, that's what I was wearing when I got kidnapped.
That was Cordell.
They didn't add that paper onto there.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well,
what I do on the privacy of Omegle is none of your business.
Oh, that's even worse. Oh, you brought it to a new level.
Zing.
Oh man. Well, yeah, a lot has happened.
Yes.
In the world. And we're probably not going to talk about most of it.
No,
you said you had something.
Yeah, I have stuff. On the lots happening in the world front, frankly, love the people you're near, take care of the people you can. Do your best. Like, there's only so much you can do to enact large sweeping things, but you can take care of and protect the people near you, especially if things get scarier.
Yeah, and from your boy Caleb, go do something fun.
Yep.
Here's
take
20.
Care of you.
Here's $20. Go down to the soda fountain and see what the day special is.
Yeah, I think that's good. A little self-care with the $20 Caleb gave you.
Yep.
So I, want to talk about next week. There's some new Marvel Rivals characters coming.
Or we get 2 more.
Yeah, can you send me the leaked movesets, Caleb?
Yeah, let me find this.
Because while you're doing that, I'll tell you a little bit about my experience with some leaks lately. It's not my incontinence issues. It's actually data mines for Marvel Snap happened on Tuesday when the update came out. And there was a really beefy, awesome data mined card that was supposed to come out next month. And they just, it's not technically a nerf because the card was never released in that state, but that thing got just destroyed. It went from like a really cool build around card with a huge payoff, and now it's just like a generic dumb big boy. And I'm real bummed about it.
Hell yes.
But there's some better cards that are coming out later that have been data mined. They're doing a what if season in like April, and one of the cards is Infinity Ultron, which is from a what if timeline where Ultron got the Infinity Stones, and that sucker is probably the one I'm the most excited to play with coming out.
That makes sense. Also, I can just read these abilities to you, actually, if you want.
I mean, will you send it as well so it'll help with my comprehension?
Yeah, let me. Why is my just being sorry? My internet's being weird. Not like internet, but just like computer, I guess. So this is I can't find what I actually saw, but this is the closest thing.
Okay.
And there's another one that may be better. Let me check this one as well. But essentially his whole thing, he has a passive ability that most people are calling solid as a rock. This is listed in the same way. Solid as a rock, which is a passive that gives you immunity to knockback and other effects, which means like, Invisible Woman cannot push you.
Right. And also, I would assume that like when Namor throws a whale at you, you can't get knocked down.
Yeah. Like anything that's supposed to knock you down, ain't happening.
No Fantastic throwing you around either. He counters both of his teammates.
Yeah. Which is very good.
That's a strong passive.
Yeah, and then so the Furious Charge, which it says it creates a seismic zone by powerfully charging forward and moving enemies around you. Supposedly, what it is it creates a straight line. So like you charge forward in a straight line and knock back enemies in your pathway and create rough terrain in your wake.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
His ultimate, launch lethal force to take down all the enemies in front of you. And he seems like a straight line kind of tank. Like,
yeah, it's watch out for what's in front of you. Like everything else is, whatever.
Right. Like hit me from behind, whatever. If you're in front of me, you're dying. Because his ultimate is launch lethal force, take down all enemies in front of you, throw them into the air. Battlefield support, you can help teammates by giving them and yourself damage reduction. That's going to be a big deal if he's also buffing allies.
Yes. So
it's not a passive either. It's an active thing that he does.
Yeah. So that's what I'm not, obviously we don't know if this is going to be the final thing, but it's this. And then I've seen somewhere it's like Johnny Storm is creating like he can create individual fire fields and then connect them to make a fire wall.
Dang. Yeah, I'm looking this up. Here's a website that might have his stuff. Okay, Fire Cluster. His basic attack launches forward a spittable fireball. I don't know what that means. Or splittable. Might be splittable. Plasma Body, his movement ability. Entering a state of accelerated ascent. Okay, so he's going to rise up. I bet he'll get to hover passively.
I bet.
Yeah, it is splittable in the like screenshot from within it.
My thought is it might be like Moon Knight's weapon where it's different projectiles.
Right. That makes sense. Pyro Prison, connect flame fields to form a firewall that burning damage to enemies. Okay, so yeah, Fire Cluster probably sets the moments, and then you can Pyro Prison to connect them.
Yeah.
He does a little bit of dive tank stuff too. Not a tank, obviously, but like does a little dive attack with his flaming meteor.
Yeah. And then the supernova unleash shockwaves to deal damage to enemies within range. During skill activation, the flame field will transform into a fire tornado.
Awesome.
So it seems like it's my favorite kind of ultimate, which is you set it up a little bit with what you're doing and then capitalize on it once you go in. Which love it. Love it. This is going to be great. He also has a team up ability with Storm where she can tap into his fire with her like flame, with her like wind blades.
She can consume a fire tornado into her ultimate to ignite her. Awesome. So it looks like his left click is the normal fireball. His right click is what sets flame fields at the targeted area. And so he has a combo with that, with the Pyro Prison of connecting flame fields. So these things will have to stick around for at least 15, 20 seconds or have a low cooldown for him to be able to connect them like that.
I feel like it's more likely going to be a lower cooldown, like maybe like a 5-second cooldown. So you're still having to be mindful of when and how you're doing it.
Right. Or there's going to be like, because all the icons have 3 of them, maybe you can set 3 and then there's a cooldown and any new ones you set, like it put out the first one you placed.
That also seems very likely.
Because that could be, it's kind of like setting the spider mines with Penny Parker, where it's like you can set a certain amount and then they go away.
Do you think this could be a little bit of like it could be a little bit of not like a penny counter, but like being able to like also set up areas that are essentially no-go zones for your enemies is like.
So here's my first thought with him. One, I think I would want to try him. Obviously, everyone's going to try the new characters when they come out.
Yeah.
But like, if Blazing Blast can work, if like Pyro Prison can connect 2 flame fields and doesn't need a third, then imagine a corridor, right? You're like holding the point and there's a main corridor they're coming from and you have time to set up fire on each side and then ignite it right as they're coming.
Oh, yeah.
So you're either gaining extra time on the point while they hang back and your team goes through and starts fighting, or they're coming through and getting damaged. And it's burning damage, so I assume it's over time, too.
That's what I assume. It's going to be similar to how Overwatch is. So Overwatch, there's a character named Mauga, Mauga, that he has 2 guns. One of them does burning damage, and then if you hit them enough with it over time, they catch on fire. Mm-hmm. And then the other gun does a base amount of damage, but does more damage if they're on fire.
Dang.
So it's like a 1-2 punch. But that burning, I think it lasts for like 10 seconds after it starts and does like a chip amount of damage every half second or something like that. And I imagine it's going to be similar with this.
Yeah. And then I want to look closer at the thing because it feels like, okay. Yeah, it felt like his abilities weren't as fleshed out in the one you sent me. Like it didn't have everything. No, battlefield support, jump toward teammates and add damage reduction to them and yourself. Furious charge. Thunderbolt punch, deliver a devastating punch, and then combination punches is base attack, quick and continuous punches. Yeah, so he's got no ranged options, but I bet he gets a movement boost whenever he's doing a straight line charge.
I really hope that his punches are just because it says quick and continuous, which makes me really hope that it's just truly fast. Like
right.
Because like Hulk, when you punch, it's a slog.
Yeah. Well, Hulk also has the benefit of like it has a little bit extra oomph to it, I imagine. Like because Thing can't be as big and strong as Hulk. And Hulk is a little bit more of a slam throw kind of guy. So if Thing is more of a like definitely not as fast as Iron Fist, but faster than every other tank.
Yeah.
Like his punches need to be the fastest of the tanks if that's all he has.
Yeah, because I found another thing that says there's the combination punch, which is the basic attack, and then the thunderbolt punch, which is the devastating.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if it's going to be something where like there is a set ideal combo of quick, big, and then that's how you like really get the most out of it.
Well, I would imagine that combo is just based on the cooldown of the Thunderbolt punch. Like, assuming you chain without... Because it'll be punches, so it's infinite. So, theoretically, you just don't have to stop punching. I think the moment your Thunderbolt punch is cooled down, you slam it again and then go back to your normal punches. But, like, imagine going into the big free-for-all and setting the damage reduction to your team and then just charging in. Like, you're tanking, you're in the way, you're scattering their team. Like, I'm excited for both of these dudes. Because I'm a big Sue Storm fan. She's probably my main overall.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that these two will be better than Mr. Fantastic. He's just not good.
He's not. I still love him, and like, he's not good, but he's so much fun.
Do you know what I think would actually make him good?
What?
Just let him be faster. Like, I think whenever the because I think at some point in the next few days, I'm pretty sure they're doing like buffs and nerfs.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in the next week, right? At least with the next half of the season coming out.
Probably, yeah. Probably they'll do a series of buffs and nerfs.
I think giving him faster movement speed, because he's very flexible, no pun intended, during combat. Like he's got reasonable options and he's got good reach, but he's so slow. And I think that's what kills him.
My thoughts on that are I don't know if he needs a movement speed buff, because he's also got a lot of innate damage reduction for himself. So he can you can really stay alive if you're good as him. But I do think, the move he has where he can grab somebody and pull himself towards them?
Yes, yeah.
And it generates some elasticity for him. If they reduced the amount of elasticity you gain from it to like 20 instead of the 30 that it's at. Because when you hit 100, you get to that big mode and you can start really punching. If they reduce it to 20 and then give him 3 charges of it instead of 2, so that way you don't get any bonus elasticity from it. It's not like you're at 90 just from doing it 3 times, but you can move a little faster with your team. You can catch up to them, build up the elasticity before the big fight, and then, go in and hit.
Yeah, because I do think part of it is I think he is a character that really needs you. One, he rewards you for figuring him out. Like, a character like Moon Knight, you just plug and play. And there is a learning curve, but Mr. Fantastic has a high learning curve, I feel like. Like, he's not going to be very good until you've gotten enough under your belt with him. But then he really rewards you coordinating with your team and being able to use them to boost his movement.
Like, I agree with that.
He's he's a strategist. Even though he's not, like, you have to think like a strategist to play him well. Because you got to be buffing your own team and generating the passive shields. Like, his temp hit points kind of act like healing.
Yeah. That temporary armor he gets. Yeah.
Right. Like, I think you do need to think about him a little bit like your support, because I think just trying to outright do DPS, he's going to get got by all the other duelists.
Yeah.
But I will say, he is hard to kill when you're going up against a good Reed player.
Yeah.
I need to get good with him. I want to just main the Fantastic Four, and that's all I do.
Honestly, the Fantastic Four are such a good team, and like I want to see, I don't know, I want to see them more. I want to see better. I want to see a team up for all four of them. That somehow, when you have all four of them on your team, it's just
right.
But I also want to see that for like Guardians of the Galaxy or like
because there are like 2 to 3 character team up abilities, and those are cool, but I do think they will eventually add, like, if you play every character in this roster, you get a boost. Like, if you're playing Star-Lord, Rocket, Groot, Mantis, maybe Adam Warlock, which is a lot to ask, that you get something good out of it, because you're structuring your team around a gimmick. Give them a boost.
Yeah. That's
Plus, three of those are healers.
Yeah,
it's pretty good
that's
team.
the thing is like the Guardians of the Galaxy. It would be better if / when they add like Gamora or Drax, you know.
Yeah,
but
I think. Okay, here's the question: Gamora and Drax, who should be the duelist and who should be the vanguard?
Oh,
because the theoretically obvious answer is Drax vanguard, Gamora duelist, but I don't know if that's correct.
So, listeners, if you didn't know, Cordell and I used to have a show that we did called Just Super, where we just talked about superhero nerd shit.
Yes. Yep.
So
that's what this has become accidentally. We fell back into old patterns.
Okay. I think going off of comic book accuracy,
right,
Gamora has to be the vanguard.
Thank you. Because in the comics, Gamora is beefier than Drax.
Yes. Drax is just a killer. Like that's what he is.
Right.
He's also from like Pasadena, California or something. I don't know why in the movies they made him an alien. But
and his whole thing is that he doesn't really care about his own life. Like he's just killing. That's why he's the destroyer.
Yes. And so I think if we're just going off of what it is in the comics, Gamora vanguard.
Right.
Drax has to be the duelist.
Right. Because it's also like Drax and Gamora both kind of use bladed weapons in the comics a decent amount.
Yeah. Gamora, big sword, typically.
And Drax, 2 knives.
2 knives.
So I feel like Drax doing a little bit of... So I don't know if there's a duelist version of a dive tank, but we saw a similar effect with like Human Torch, where he crashes down and does damage. I could imagine Drax being a leap and attack kind of guy with a temporary stun, and then he's just slashing. Like
a little Wolverine-y.
A little Wolverine-y. Yeah. I could see that sort of thing. And then Gamora is more of a like... I could see her having some sort of parry ability to block damage intentionally. And then she has bigger sweeping swings with a little bit of a like extra damage on the end of it. Like if you don't get hit by the sword, you might get pushed back by the blade itself.
Yeah. I like that. I like this.
Honestly, Caleb, if we had just kept Just Super going for a couple more years,
oh my gosh,
I think Marvel Rivals would have been a big boost for us.
Very possibly, because then we could have just had a episode run where we just talked about the base characters.
Yep.
In Marvel Rivals, like we talked about that.
Marvel Rivals incorporates into the cast, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Then we pivot to Marvel Rivals podcasting exclusively.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm super hyped for these new characters. I've been playing a lot more. Like, I used to only play whenever y'all could hop online and play, but now I've just been getting in matches on my own and practicing and just having a lot more fun with it. So I'm considering buying the season pass. If I stay at the play rate I'm doing right now, I think it'll be worth it.
I think it's fun just to be able to, like, the part of what I think about a season pass is not for now, but it's for, like, imagine 2 years from now, people are still playing the game. You know, maybe you hop on occasionally, maybe you don't play as frequently as you do now, but then you hop into a lobby of a bunch of new players that just downloaded it, and they all have just the base model skin, and then you show up with, like, Doctor Strange, God of Magic, and just, like, wreck shop, and they're like, oh,
this guy's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also just like, I personally feel like for a free-to-play game, if I play it enough, I do want to support the developers.
Right.
Like on a like customer level, it's a really fun free-to-play game, and if I end up logging, and then there's the math side of it, like with Marvel Snap, right? If I play 3 times a day every day, and say I play for 30 minutes a piece, that's an hour and a half a day.
Right.
Over a month, that is 100% worth a $10 season pass.
Yeah.
And that's a minimum. And then something with like Marvel Rivals, like if I end up playing 3-4 hours a week minimum, that's a lot of well-earned free time, and that's a game that I start wanting to have cosmetics and stuff for myself to appreciate more, and I also want to support the developers so that they can keep making it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, what you're hearing is that I'm talking myself into buying the season pass, but I'm gonna wait because there's like 50 something days left on this thing.
About 6 weeks at least. So.
Right. So I'm gonna wait.
Yeah, that's fair.
But if I keep playing this level, I'm gonna buy the season pass.
You know, we keep talking about games, Cordell, and I have a game for you. Sammy played it last week. I'm gonna let you know. Out of the 5 things that I gave her, she only got 2 of them right.
Oh, dang.
So, welcome back. This is Kojima or Kodreama. This is where, Cordell, have you ever played a Kojima video game?
Not once.
Okay, so, but you know the reputation is that they are fairly wild story-wise. Yep. So, I love these games. I adore the Metal Gear Solid series. I haven't gotten to play Death Stranding, but I've watched little playthroughs from it. It's really cool. I love it. I also have very vivid, wild nightmares / dreams due to being on antidepressants. So some of those get pretty weird. So my wife Olivia looked over these and maybe edited a few words to like make it a little bit more confusing or whatever. But Cordell.
Yeah.
Number 1 for Kojima or Kodreama. With no warning, someone says, "Do you believe love can bloom on the battlefield?"
Kojima.
You got it right. That is Kojima. That is in Metal Gear Solid 1. For no bonus points, but just for fun. He had this character whose nickname is Otacon say that. With literally no warning. It's in the middle of a call that you're making after you just killed somebody, and then he calls you. Do you know what Otacon stands for?
Otacon?
Yeah.
Is it an acronym or is it like Japanese?
It's an acronym. It is symbolism. It is other words that are shortened to Otacon.
Otherworld Contact.
So close yet so far. Otakon is short for Otaku Convention because Otakon is a weeb and is very proud that he watches anime and wants to tell you about it. So he calls himself Otakon, short for Otaku Convention.
I love a Japanese man putting that in a game just to like mock / say I see you weebs.
Yes, it's so good. It's
like playfully poking fun, but also like, hey, I see you and I get it.
Absolutely.
Makes you wonder if there are Japanese people who are like obsessed with American culture and like eat burgers and fries and watch John Wayne movies. I don't know.
His name is Hideo Kojima.
You're right.
And he's a famous video game creator.
Yeah, he said game respects game. I'm the same. I'm a simp for America.
You know what? Number 2, a person fakes their own death in order to escape paying taxes.
Kodreama.
Kodreama, indeed. It did not work. I still had to pay taxes in my dreams.
That's a bummer.
Right? But I don't mind paying taxes. Anyway.
Can I tell you a fun dream secret about me?
Yeah.
I am incapable of cheating on my wife in a dream.
I respect that.
I've had dreams, and this is a strange variation that has played through my life. My sex dreams never go anywhere. Ever. They never, like, the setup will happen and then they stop abruptly in the dream because me in the dream is like, I can't do this. I'm married.
That's so funny. I love that so much, though. That's so good.
Right. It shows how loyal I am.
Yeah. Hey, we love it. We love it. Cordell, number 3.
Okay.
A character named Die Hardman has never seen Die Hard. Cordell is deep in thought over Die Hardman.
I'm going to walk you through my process on this one.
Tell me, because I love it. I love it when this happens.
My process is that I feel like Kojima's... So what it really is I don't know how much of a, like... I know Kojima does weird and strange and deep. I don't know how much he does overtly funny. But the Otakon makes me think he does do overtly funny.
Mm-hmm.
So this could easily be him doing a little absurd humor, but it could also easily be a Caleb Burley dream. So I'm torn. So now what I've fallen onto is the structure of the quiz. Do you want to have alternating answers so quickly, or do you want to do a repeat in the middle to throw me off the scent? So this could be Kodreama, so you throw me off the scent of just alternating, or it could be Kojima. But I'm going to be a dreamer here and say it's Kojima.
It is Kojima.
Yes!
Now, this is the fun fact. Have you seen Die Hard?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the character's real name is John McClane. His code name is Die Hardman, which he gave himself.
And he's never seen Die Hard.
He's never seen Die Hard? Do you want to guess why he's called Die Hardman?
Well, his name's John McClane.
Well, yeah, but he's really hard to kill, so he's Die Hardman.
Okay, I thought it might have something to do with erections as well, so I didn't know.
No, and Kojima does typically do one or two funny things, you know.
Right, and those would be the things you'd pull out for this quiz, so it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, exactly. So next up, a large man shoots bees.
Do you mean like shoots at bees or produces bees as ammunition?
I'm not gonna answer your question, Cordell.
Kojima.
You're correct. This is in Metal Gear Solid 3. This is the boss, the Pain, and he has a suit that constantly creates bees that he throws at you.
Awesome.
So yeah, no. Olivia asked the same question. She was like, "When you say a large man shoots bees, do you mean he has a gun and he's shooting at bees, or he's shooting bees at you?"
Correct. So my first thought was honestly, depending on the answer, shooting bees as projectiles, Kojima. Shooting at bees is a Caleb Burley dream 100%. Just you with a gun shooting at bees, that's a Burley dream.
That is genuinely a Burley dream. I won't say when I had that, but that is a dream I've had.
Give me a bonus point for that.
You're already beating Sammy on this, so let's not. We won't get into bonus points. Now here's last one. You could go 5 for 5.
I'm pretty impressed with myself just going off vibes alone here.
You're good. And just so you know, Sammy and I already decided the next game I do of this will be David Lynch or Caleb Burley Dream. So we'll see.
That's going to be really tough. You've got to. So you don't communicate Lynchian, but your brain lives in Lynchian land. It's challenging. That'll be tough.
So we'll see what happens. But for number 5. A meeting at a funeral goes awry when 2 men begin to fight over the ability to control the mech that is waiting outside.
Oh. See now, Caleb, this is a red herring. Because it sounds so perfectly like a Kojima moment. This sounds like a thing he put into a game, and that it's there and it's really intense. And that's why I'm going Kodreama.
You are correct. It is Kodreama, and I won. And Daniel did not get to control the Power Rangers Mechazord outside.
He's not worthy. You are.
He's not worthy. I am worthy of controlling the Zord.
Correct. So I went 5 for 5.
You went 5 for 5. I actually, no joke, had a prepared tiebreaker that we would have done next week, which is 2 truths and a lie, but with the most batshit crazy things that have happened in my life or are still happening. And now I just get to sit on that.
Good. Keep that in your back pocket.
I may actually include one of those in the Lynch thing.
That's fair. Because you got to get weird.
I gotta get really weird when it comes to David Lynch. Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, this is good. So, Cordell, you officially won Kojima or Kodreama, and that's fun. And I came up with that name. I didn't have to ask Cordell to come up with a name for it for me.
Yeah, you brought that up, and I was like, that's good. That's a good name. I think not knowing anything about Kojima actually gave me an advantage here. Like, I think there is a little phenomenon here where the closer you are, the harder it can be to distinguish. But me knowing you better than I know the games helped me. It helped me a lot. Yeah, I used my Burley knowledge, not my Kojima knowledge.
I think that's totally fair. I think also, like, I did try to throw in things that, like I think Sammy said, like, something like a person faking their own death to escape paying taxes does sound like something that would happen in a Kojima game. And we decided it's probably standard issue to do that in that universe. Like, you just every year fake your death.
Yeah. Everyone's faking their death all the time, to the point where when someone actually dies, they're like, nuh-uh, see you next week, chump.
See you next week. See you at work.
Then he doesn't come back, and you're like, he's playing the long con. You just never believe anyone's dead if you live in Kojima's worlds.
That's honestly very true. And I will say, even if you did know Kojima more, the meeting at a funeral goes awry. I worded that in such a way, there's actually a moment, okay. In the Metal Gear Solid franchise, there is a specific illness called Fox Die. And it's a illness designed to only hit members of a secret former secret organization. and can only be passed on through contact.
Okay.
So there is a moment where I believe it's Solid Snake and Big Boss are at the grave of Major Zero, and they say that Fox Die is over, and then one of them dies from it immediately and passes it to the other one, who then sits at the grave and delivers like a 10-minute monologue.
Incredible.
It's it's a good game.
Well,
I'm
I'm
Metal Gear Solid 4 is a
the
bad
biggest
game.
Kojima fan officially.
That's true. That is very true. It's what I've been trying to tell people.
Yeah, you knew it all along.
Did.
Yeah. Do you wanna hear a little bit about Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes.
Okay. So, I have another group that I do campaigns and whatnots with.
Absolutely.
And so it's actually a really big bummer. I had a friend in this group who passed away.
Oh,
like
man.
last year around like I think it was end of October or end of September, like around that time.
Yeah.
And so the campaign we were doing just kind of stopped because how are we gonna keep going?
Right.
And so it's been like 4 or 5 months, and we've all like hung out and like spent time together, but have kind of avoided playing more D&D.
Yeah.
And then our DM was like, "Hey, I think it's probably about time that we start getting back into playing together." So we're scrapping the old campaign and just not going back. But he was like, "I want to do more of a like." He's been doing worlds that he had built a while ago and just kind of putting new campaigns in different times. And so he's like, "We're gonna world build together for this next one."
Hell yeah.
And he wants it to be more nitty gritty on like the crafting side and the like having components and things, like really leaning into the rules as written for D&D.
Ooh.
Which is gonna get intense. But part of that is he shared with us a homebrew compendium called Kibble's Compendium of Craft and Creation.
Oh, I've seen this. Oh my gosh.
And it's awesome and it's wildly complex.
Yeah.
Like so it introduces 2 new classes, which are called the Inventor and the Scion. The Inventor, I kid you not, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10 subclasses. And each one of them is significantly different, has its own spell list and multi-classing requirements, but like it has the Gadget Smith, the Golem Smith, the War Smith, the Thunder Smith, the Flesh Smith. Like it's crazy. And then the Scions, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different subclasses. And then there are more disciplines because you get multiple psionic disciplines as you grow. It's wild. And then there are like whole new feats. There's new subclasses for every single class. Like and this was clearly before Artificer was a thing, because Inventor is basically proto-Artificer.
Yeah.
But it's so complicated. Like, would have to be really stripped down in order to be an actual Dungeons and Dragons. But that's not going to stop me from building a Scion character.
Oh no.
And so I wanted to tell you about my character concept and see if you could maybe give me a little bit of input or just help me out.
Yeah.
So there's also a race in here called Iron Rot, and it's essentially Warforged, but with more goodies.
Right.
And one of the options for Iron Rot is you can be a quadruped, like you can be 4-legged with no hands. And I was like, that's an interesting character challenge. So and then the Scion subclass I want to do is the Shaper. And the Shaper's Mind is a subclass where your whole thing is you bring your imagination into reality and you basically summon a temporary like mental construct to fight for you and things. And so my idea is an iron wrought like hound or quadruped kind of thing, like picture fox is what I'm leaning toward. That was designed way back when for espionage and intelligence missions. But wartime ends and it's kind of put into low power mode to just wait until it's needed again. Then the civilization collapses. And so it's forgotten by its civilization and it's in lower power mode for decades, if not centuries. And while it's in low power mode, it starts to dream. And its dreams grow more powerful and more potent until it gains full sentience and wakes up as a scion with the ability to project its dreams into reality.
Well, I think you have a solid character idea. I don't really see what you need from me on this.
I mean, that's fair. Maybe this is just me telling you how excited I am for that character idea.
Yeah, no, I think that's a sick character idea. I especially love the idea of like, you said like a fox or something else, but I think like a fox is so perfect.
Right?
And I love this because okay. So for a mini campaign I wrote, and we are recording for the other pod, that like I've written this idea of, based off of some other stuff, but this idea of like, hey, in this universe, they found this one place that has this element that is making it to where it can advance robot technology. And that's all they know. They're like, this is super conductive for some reason. That's it. What they don't know is that it's conductive to the point that it is actually giving robots the ability to think their own ideas.
Yeah, think and dream, robots.
Yeah. And so then it becomes a case of this team of 3 humans and some robots got sent to mine and extract this thing, and then the robots got exposed to it. Some of the dust got into their brains, like into the robot brain,
right?
Made it to where they start thinking, and then the element became known as the creator, and then there became a robot religion based around the metal, and then the humans were like, hey, you can't do that, and then we see how that happens.
Awesome.
So, like, you talking about robots dreaming, that's all I've been thinking about for 2 weeks.
Right. It's and well, my thought too is the DM was like, hey, I want this to be stripped down. I want us to start basically like not quite level 0, but like he wants us to start as kind of just people, just like apprentices with our own like crafts, because it's the crafting compendium too. Wants us to be like apprentices with our own crafts that we focus on, that then we end up going on adventures. And I imagine he wants it to be more stripped down, like we help design the region, help figure out culture and stuff. And I imagine a good bit of this campaign is going to be like going to this place and gathering components to craft this thing, like starting there and letting a plot develop.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? It's because it fits with the idea of that we're kind of creating this world. And I think it's cool if there's a lot of crafting and a lot of like component gathering, if there's a lost civilization, right? Like, super advanced lost civilization that life is kind of building back up on. And just being a remnant of that was never meant to think and feel. And now being in a world you don't know, with powers you're trying to figure out while you learn what it's like to be sentient at all. I think it's really, really neat. Especially like doing a non-humanoid character, like letting it be like a fox shaped robot that's like trying to figure this out. Just such a different character than anything I've ever done. And I'm very, very excited to see what happens.
Yeah. That's going to be so much fun.
Especially if we get this campaign going and it's like a long-term one, I'm real excited. So the one question I do have, and I might just have to figure this out as I play the character.
Mhm.
One, I decided the craft I want to go for is rune carving.
You like runes.
I love runes as a concept, and I like runes in Dungeons and Dragons, but it's also because I was trying to think of something that could be done without hands. There are actually very few crafts that can be done without hands. Rune carving is one of them if you use your claws or your tail to etch.
I like that.
So, like an apprentice to a rune carver who's learning the craft like that.
If I may, foxes. It would make sense to do the tail if you're a robotic fox that was used for like espionage. If the tail was used as like almost like a little bit of like a poison jab to like get a needle in quick, because like getting up and going up for the claws, that's going to take too long. It's going to be very obvious, but like swiping someone with your tail that's very sharp seems like, you know.
I mean, there is a poison crafting. Like, there is a craft that's poisons.
I mean, that could be interesting. I was just thinking about espionage, but maybe the poison has gone away by now. But that still leaves it to where you can etch it with your tail instead of
okay.
claws.
I mean, that's good too, because the other thing is like, I'm a bit of a gimmick player. Like, I don't really go for a super well-rounded character. I like to min-max a little bit. One, because it makes it more interesting if I'm not all around and I have stark weaknesses. But two, like, part of the point of being a small robot is that I want to avoid direct combat and use my mental constructs to do the fighting for me. So mine, like, fox in the way of like illusion and deception as well, of like trying to stay out of the way of combat and send in my mental fighting. And so that's kind of where I went into runes as well, is I could carve them and give them to my allies, or even potentially have my constructs carry them to activate them, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think that's I like the idea of like them being carried in. That sounds really fun.
It's just cool. I like it.
It's fun and cute, honestly. Like,
it's precious, it's adorable, and it lets me have a character that will never get physically stronger, because also a robot, how is a robot going to get physically stronger outside of like augmentation? But if it's an ancient robot and no one knows how to do that augmentation anymore, unless plot stuff comes up, I think it makes sense to have the mental stuff get stronger. So what I'm going to need to figure out is what disciplines, because you start off with your one discipline for your subclass, and then I think at a one level you collect a second discipline. And then at like 18, you get a third. I don't expect to get to 18. But trying to figure out what second discipline is going to be interesting. Because currently I'll have projection. There's enhancement, which is like buffs. Telekinesis, which is obvious. Telepathy, obvious. Transposition is like teleportation.
Yeah.
Psychokinesis is elemental effects. Precognition could be interesting. And it's a little bit of soothsaying, a little bit of seeing into the future and gaining advantage on things. And then there's also nullification and consumption, which nullification is like anti-magic and consumption is like draining life force. So I
love that. I
think I need to let the character develop and figure out what makes sense as the second discipline after playing a bit. But I like to have a couple potential directions in mind.
Yeah. I feel like it's also like when I'm designing a character, unless it's like for Sammy's upcoming campaign.
Right.
We're starting at a level where I already have to have the sub level picked out.
Right.
And so that took some time to figure out. But if I'm starting at like level 1 or something, I try to not think about that at all.
Really?
I do not. I just play the character, and then as I play the character, I then look after like the first 3 or 4 sessions. I'll look and see, okay, what makes sense for how I'm playing this character or how his or her arc seems to be going.
Right.
What subclass makes sense?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think that's my preferred way of playing it. And that may be something you try and see, like, okay, well, I'm not, because like for example, if you're a little fox guy, like if they start with runes and then the other thing becomes, maybe they are wind up getting in more scraps and wind up getting more into the fight than they want to.
Right.
Then maybe you decide, hey, maybe they do want to have something for a backup, and maybe they are doing poison. And maybe part of it is like flavor wise, outside of combat, they're using their little constructs to make the like do the handwork.
Right.
While they like guide them to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like it's stuff like that. That is my preferred method. Is I don't think of what I don't try to think of what it is too far in advance.
And that's fair. I am like I said, I'm a gimmick player. So I do try to figure out what my concept is, like what's the gimmick I'm pursuing here, and then I let the rest of it develop around that. So I don't do like the character's personality, traits, all of it depends on the gimmick. And then I let them evolve naturally. So I don't do a ton of like other work, and I don't like to pre-plan too much, but these ones pick at level 1. So I'll need to know anyway. But I have wondered, like, yeah, Fox doesn't have hands, but the constructs do.
Yeah.
So, like, summoning constructs and using them to craft could be a really cool direction to go in. But I just don't know. I wanna kind of leave that up to the narrative and see how that works.
Yeah.
It's a lot of neat stuff.
Yeah. I think that it sounds like it's going to have a lot of good stuff and a lot of like fun stuff going on.
Right. Now, one thing I'm keeping in my back pocket a little bit as a concept is potentially, I think it would be very complicated, but considering multi-classing Inventor if the rune stuff gets really big. Like, if my character really gets into the rune crafting and the rune carving and really leans into that side of it, I think it would make sense to multi-class and have... Because there is a rune carving, like, subclass for the Inventor, and leaning into that, because I think they're both intelligence-based.
Well, that's good, because then you don't have to, like...
Right. So the stats would be there, and there is like a supportive version of the Rune Crafter subclass that like focuses on buffing and supporting. And so that could be an interesting direction to go in. It's just, I love the excitement of a pre-campaign. Like before you get started, it's almost better than playing the game. Imagining the infinite worlds that could occur.
Yeah, it's a different kind of fun.
Yeah,
like right now, like we are not supposedly not too far away from the end of the current campaign we're playing.
Right. Yeah, we're
in the other pod.
There. We're
getting pretty close, according to our DM Drew, our gamekeeper. And so, like, yeah, I'm kind of getting back into the swing of, like, thinking about Trevor and, like, all that. And I realized something, and I actually changed his character sheet a little bit based off of this. So just so you know, I realized as a former killer, former assassin type thing, all of Trevor's spells are actions. None of them are bonus actions or reactions, because if you didn't get it right the first time, there's no point in going back.
Awesome.
And so like I went through and I removed some of the spells and added new ones to make them all cost 1 action.
Will you do anything in your bonus actions?
I have 1 bonus action ability, and it is a bonus action healing thing that is innate to my subclass. Because he is I think it's called Celestial Warlock. Yeah, Celestial Warlock. So it is intentionally supposed to be a warlock that is a healer. And like does that instead of like, I'm going to max out my Eldritch Blast and I'm going to make it hurt as much as I can. It is my Eldritch Blast hurts. I can still do a lot of damage in fights. I can also do a little bit of healing.
Right. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's so cool. It's the pre-campaign is the best.
It is.
Because
I love the pre-campaign.
I think it's because on a level, right? Like once you start playing, your character becomes something.
Yes.
Your character is kind of out of your hands once you get going. I think if you're playing honestly, your character stops being yours when you begin the game. And they start becoming a device for the story and a device for you to tell the story. So it's like once you get playing, like there are things about characters that I've played that I never would have picked for them until the game started and I learned more about them.
Yeah.
And so it's like you kind of lose the control when they get into it because when you're playing honestly, unexpected stuff happens. But before the game, anything is possible. You don't know what they'll be, and you're picking like the direction to point them in, and then seeing what they do when the game starts, and you let them go.
Yeah. It's so good. D&D as a storytelling medium is just, it's so good.
Right?
It's beautiful. You know what else is beautiful? It's our opening and closing theme song, Sackabilly Forget a Hop by the Reverend Hurt and Heat off the album Smoke 'em If You Got 'em.
There it is.
And Sammy usually says some stuff here. If you want to follow us on TikTok, it's Junkhouse Pod, I believe is the handle there. Twitter's a hellscape. Don't go there. And yeah, that's what we got.
So 28 minutes ago, we got an email from a Scottish podcast manager.
Oh, I saw this.
And
it filtered out his first email a couple weeks ago.
The first email was in January. And offering to help us grow and monetize our show.
We get a decent amount of emails like this that are filtered out.
Right. This one managed to break through. I really don't know. Like, this has to be a cold email they send to thousands of podcasts, right?
No, they listen to this show. They listen. They listen.
You think our Scottish podcast manager is listening?
I'm not going to dox this guy.
No. I'm just amazed he's in Scotland.
Listen, his email from a few weeks ago, I think, starts out perfectly describing this show. Love what you're doing with Junkhouse. Super inspiring. I think we are super inspiring. And then I also like the fact that he definitely just gets straight into it.
Yes, which I also want to point out. This man says, using this strategy, we generated $22,496 in October for a podcast, and then names the podcast. What's your average generation, friend?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Right? Like, cool, you have one success story that got $22K in a month with a very generic and appealing concept to the kind of people that will give it money, because it's like a finance-related podcast. we're three idiots making dumb jokes.
I really almost want to reply to this email and say, do you know that we make jokes about boners and stuff on this one?
Because he basically emailed us again. Is like, hey, did you get a chance to check out that email I sent? And I do think the funniest response is being like, hey, are you aware of how much we talk about sex and boners? Do you know that we created a fake organization for touching tips competitively?
Oh, God. Oh, we got to talk about that next week because there's been some developments in the world, apparently.
Wait, what?
Oh, just like we say every single week.
Caleb, you can't do that. No. First of all, if you want to email us, junkhousemamailbox@gmail.com. What?
Just like we say every single week.
If you don't tell me about docking right now, I'm going to scream.
It's a psychobilly freakout.